Eccoci qua. Ciao Patricia.
Wow.
So, first of all, buon compleanno. Happy
Oh, it was
birthday.
the last thing I should like to do with everybody. You understand, not at my age, but it's like this. Things
No, it's amazing. It's
are over.
amazing.
Then we have to do this.
My 7-year-old kid had a virtual birthday. You
Yeah,
can imagine.
uh,
Was a real, what we say in Italian, casino.
yeah.
Like 10 kids talking on a computer. I don't know what was, I'm not sure about the party, but they loved it. So
You were telling to me yesterday that, and it was
yes,
nice. It
incredible,
was.
incredible. So what have you done for your birthday? What did your girls did for you? Nothing, not a
You know,
cake?
first thing, I born in reality tomorrow, like the 23, just at the beginning of the day, the early morning. And my father was so excited because I born in home. Then I don't tell you more. It's a
Oh my
complex
goodness.
history
Mhm.
before the doctor arrived, and stories like this. And my father was so nervous that he wrote to 22. Then I have double birthday.
Okay, but very good.
but
Today's a double
but
gift.
but today, what we were saying before was nicer than that, and was the celebration of the Earth Day.
Okay.
That is the
Cool.
good thing. I like that is the coincidence we are in that day.
So it's an important day also because obviously Patricia was born, but because of Earth Day. No, but because of Earth Day. Now with all this coronavirus, the point about Earth has gone a little bit in second place. But you were sharing with me a really nice initiative of one of your friends, and of Olafur
Eliasson,
Eliasson.
well,
Yeah.
friend,
But,
luck to know him, but I think it's very interesting to link with in Instagram, no, with the Studio Olaf for Eliasson, and to see, because they are doing an experiment, very interesting, an art experiment, which I think they are the experiments I'm waiting from the net, and I think the experiment we have to share, all of us. And
I
he's
wrote
doing
it
today.
down for who wants to read it. The Studio Olafur Ellenson Earth Perspectives. I think it's
Yes.
really, really interesting. I went to see it, so I'm
Thank
suggesting.
you. See.
So, Patricia, just start. Where are you now? Where are you staying?
Allora, I am in my home, but my home, the only lucky thing in this complex situation that a few years ago I had my second daughter, and she's now 14 years old, and she was about so 5, 6 years, and I said, end of the story. We have to have a studio and a home together. I need to do a kind of fast track in my life, because we were already, running. That is the argument, one of the serious arguments that are in crisis. And many of my friends, they say, we know you are happy. I go, in some way, the little part of your heart is giving you a bit of energy in that way. Happy in a metaphorical
Obviously.
way. And and that was a help, because I am in the studio, but I am with my
Yeah, yeah. In the
without
same
shoes,
time
just to
upstairs.
explain you, because it's all together. And that was, I think, a good thing, because was the investment we did for us, wasn't a thing, and we were afraid that the work would be too much important. But I said, well, the work, I think, in our kind of creative life, I think is very lucky, extremely lucky. Then we are transparent, and we get all the things together, and we run the family and the second family all together. I think is better. And I think in this moment is good, because now I'm a little bit afraid of all this new way of working through digital, and we don't have to say it. We know it. I come from a generation. I've been educated, and all my beginning has been done in an analogic way, and I adapted in everything, in work and drawings, in anything. But in this moment, we know this kind of conversation that you are doing for first time, and me too.
Of
That
course.
And then I said, okay, in the desk with the bookcase, you know, with the boring bookcase, you know, it's okay. I appreciated that you are your
The
children
drawings of
always in
my
the back.
kids.
Exactly.
My kids
I
have,
didn't want to give any sign from me in this moment, Echo.
no, so
I'm sorry.
Patricia, how so studio in a home, but the real point is how do you create or do you create a barrier from your personal life and your professional life, or you really there's no real difference between the two?
I don't know. We are so many so many human beings. Then answers can be very interesting. I mean, and really different. From my side, I just wanted the contrary. I thought that this transparency and this simplicity will be much better for my work and life. Then I absolutely, and I am absolutely happy about that. Then now I'm going to spend the house. You know, the home is gonna get always more important inside the office. Then I think anything that happened in the crossovers in those they are never limits. Is where everything happened. Then I think it's very important to work on limits, like in those passages of life.
Of course, but so what do you think has changed in your creative process, or what is happening in your creative process in this moment when you're much more at home? Whereas, for what I know, you're always running from one place to another one because you're very busy. No, but you're very. No, in New York.
There is this image of me now.
No, but you have a lot of things. You're following a lot of things. You like you like to be in the places where you're working. You're a very present person. So the fact of being instead obliged to stay put, what are you doing? What are you thinking in this moment? How are you spending your days?
Allora, you know, I was having an image which is fun. You know, I am born in Spain and I live in Milano for long years, I mean, quite 30 years, that is, which is fantastic. And I was thinking, you know, there is I've never been to tauromaquia, to toros, but there is words that I always listen in my childhood, and in Spain, that was the torero saying, you know, dress me slowly because I am in a hurry. You know, that kind of you know, just to explain the liturgy of that moment of dressing, which is so important sometimes to get concentrated to do something that is fundamental. Then we are not going to speak about that because I've never been first happened. But I like that phrase. We are in a moment that we are having this possibility of using our time in another way, extra time. I think important thoughts, the important things that come always in an interest space, which is in between normal things you do. Then I think in this moment, I was, for example, the other day in the kitchen with my daughters, and one of them, Julia, said, you know, then that's going to be complex in September. And I love
October.
Why September.
She said October.
You know, September.
Okay.
And we immediately, the three of us, we understood, and then we began to do with all the mountains these double new words, and then speak, because she was saying, because Mom, I don't understand anymore how much time we are here. But it's in some way is very interesting that I don't know, and I don't want to say we are exactly now in the 6th week, and then the sense of time is being enlarged in a so strong way. But not only for me, Urquiola, the mother, doing the architecture, nothing to do. In the family, we were all at the same time with the same kind of problems. Sophia is an adolescent and 14 years old with the school. She's doing every day, you know, her studying classes and doing all the things. But at the same time, she has a long days too. Everything is changing strongly. As for all of us. Then, and Julia, the same, she's working by the net in remote, blah, blah, blah. But that is not the argument. The argument that is we are rethinking and we are looking to anything we do in the kitchen that we were in happened many times these days that we were working, we were cooking together. Like, it was something that normally we never do. Like, one was cooking, another one, but was not this idea of sharing strongly that time. And as this I could say, but in many others, other things. Even, you know, I remember I have in my mind doing, you know, laundry. But the three of us, Eco and Alberto, coming and helping for it, and doing the thing together. I don't know why, but we like it. Then,
of course,
I'm just saying, another moments of the day that for example, me, I don't come here, for example, in this space because it's a nice room where Alberto, I let this space for him because his desk is just nearby. There's another big table near that we use for meetings.
So during this period, you are
me,
upstairs?
I keep her upstairs. Me, I keep
Okay,
upstairs.
okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
There was a little space with a window, not very deep. It's not even a table, but I don't know why. I like this idea a little bit of like so I feel that in this moment we have the time to think, to do a kind of mutation. We have to, it's happening. We have to, we are so, it's so deep what everything that happened. We know that this quarantine, you know, that we've been, all of us, we have to do, and we understood which is the value. And the emergency, which is all around us, which is the umbrella of all these circumstances, which is so heavy, that you try to do the best what you are doing in this moment. Then it's in my work, but it's in my life. It's not only.
And what you were saying that you were also reading a lot. No, you're reading a lot. You are. What kind of things are you reading? Because I've spoken with friends and they're like they're studying a lot of things, or they're reading things that instead are fantasy because they need to feel like a lot of people are reading books that they've already read in the past. Because every time you read a book, what are you reading in this moment?
Well, I was saying to you the other day, I would say so I'm connected with many different things. I like to read. No, so I'm very in this moment. For example, for me, I'm a bit timid to always say the things I'm reading.
But you're looking at the internet. You're looking.
Allora, see, internet well, but I'm reading a lot of books. But it's been something that I've always been done. For example, one thing that came back to my life was Edgar Morin. Edgar Morin, with this sociologist, philosopher, that for me, all the personages that they are not so many things I think in English, but I was searching one book for him that was a biography that was my debut cycle, and I didn't find it. I didn't have it anymore. Then I at the same time I was finding other ones. Then there were things. When I think about a book, I'm not speaking about a book. Normally, if I like someone, I'm reading different things. No, I don't know. Emanuele Coccia, but I spoke already in other two occasions. Emanuele Coccia is a young
plants.
Italian. In this case, is Italian, and he did the life of the plants, which is a metaphysic of mixture, something like this is the name. But and he's speaking tomorrow in the net. Then more important to listen to him directly, with the Forma Fantasma. One of the important things in the Instagram of Forma Fantasma, which is very important in the mutation. I think I'm feeling inside, and I want that grows inside me. This idea of real think. Allora, how much I was a kind of link in my work, then I had my ideas, I was moving certain things, but I was linking other ones, and how much I can do it in another way. How I can, my empathic travels, in relation with others, how can I enhance them? Or how can I give them a new, and quite a better value? That is an argument that for me is very important. But
so let me ask you this.
then I think it's very nice to say, I will love that you, I like, for example, that thinking and saying to you, imagining so Ronan Bourolec drawing in continuously a drawing, and I sent in a message saying those are fantastic. Because in this moment they are helping a lot of us. And he said, I'm drawing all the time the same thing. And he said, but your mantra is necessary because it's part of your spirit that you are sharing with us, no? Or at the same time, other designers, artists doing other kind of things very different. We need a lot of ways of sharing. Possibly the digital is complex. We will find different ways. I still thinking that perhaps it's an exercise which is good because I'm suffering doing it. That means we are learning.
It's
See,
working.
we are
You're
learning.
suffering, you're working. Okay.
You see,
But
yeah, we are learning.
Patricia, what you have a lot of projects going on. You work on many things. You really have this ability also to do. I see a lot of your things, and I always like, wow, Patricia did this. It's amazing. And what are you doing now that somehow you have to be at home? Are you going on with your projects? Are you rethinking? Has something of this quarantine affected your creative process thinking on the actual project that you were working on?
Well,
not
this, in some way, speaking about work is connected with many sides of your personality. There is the quarantine affected from one side, having more personal time. Then this personal time is being, I think, all the beginning of the time of this period. It was getting information about the emergency, trying to understand, trying to not understand, trying to, and getting out of fear, because I think with fear we don't get anywhere, but understanding, trying to understand, then a lot of questions, and more than me doing projects, absolutely. But I don't tell you anything which is strange. Obviously, we are well connected. My little community of designers and artists, we are quite well connected. We are in remote, and I was always even complaining with them, but we are too much well connected. Because we normally we do a lot of crossovers, no, with the project, and I needed a bit of space for me, and time, and but I was complaining in a nice way. I have time these days to work with them, go on with some projects and go with the things, but in some way, all of us, we were a little bit. What I like is that sometimes some of the young people working with me, which we are a community, we don't live so far away. For some reason, most of them, they come or walking or on bicycle, and the city is not so little. Then it's a nice, interesting thing. And for example, tomorrow, there is one that I'm waiting, because one client I was asking to us to do for them from a project of a carpet. We are doing the prototypes, and it's a moment of crisis, of any kind of crisis. We understand the situation, and it's not a so big company. Then they said, can you do by your own a little video explaining and helping them? This girl is coming tomorrow, and we know we are going to do in the courtyard of the building, she and me, if with distances, capito. But we are giving us a bit of energy to do a kind of work, and we have to invent something tomorrow. Then those kind of little exercises, or for example, speaking with them in remote and trying to get from those conversations something out of just this frontal thing we have now in front of me, and we something come interesting. They were very, for example, I liked it a lot that some projects that we had before this period, that now being a little bit all of us together but divided, they are working by their own. Then the project is going a little bit
Somewhere.
out of limits. But
This is
I
interesting.
didn't complain at all. I was saying, oh, I have the time to understand. We let them work in that way, because I think that is another thing that we have to analyze. I think it's part of our new amphibian roots. We have to understand how to, we have to adapt to a very strong thing, which is being understanding that, you know, action is not good. You have to be stopped, which is the contrary of our normal way. But we understood how the big value about that, you know, then to make them feel comfortable in this kind of different density, and with the knowing that most of them, as all of us, we know that the crisis is a crisis over economical crisis, over a sociological. There are going to be a lot of, this is going to be a long period and complex. But I think just because of that, I think we have to approach this argument with a good energy. It doesn't mean I am positive. We were speaking, you and me, the other day, like, about how if I am positive or negative, you know.
Yeah. Yes, so like this, I know that this is always, there's not a black and white, but I'm going to ask you. So how are you looking at the future? Obviously, there's a sense of vulnerability that we all have and a lot of question, but what are some of the opportunities that you are sensing, if anything, at the moment? Do you see, where is the direction? Any?
First, very difficult to say this kind of things. You know that.
The word positive. Someone just wrote, "You can't say positive. Positive in this moment, you know, as a negative exception, because means that you're positive too." So it's incredible how words semantic can be misread. You know?
I think, but the semantics have changed completely in this. It's part of our the new roots we have to have. They have to do with, in this situation, words changed the sense. Then, you know, positive or negative. Many words we were using to define certain values. They are changing, but they were changing already, I think, for a certain long time. And we were evaluated many things we have to rethink in a certain way. And I think this period could help on that. I think I cannot look forward thinking of positive and negative, because that means that you are outside of the opinion. You know that it's going to be, in the moment I have a hope in some way. I remember Tomás Maldonado with his Esperanza Progettuale. It was, I think, the projectile thought. I don't know how was translated the name of the book, because another thing, Viva the diversity. I am Spanish. I learned French when I was little, because the north of Spain was culturally completely connected with France. There was a value in that period in Spain that was complex country. And then I came to Italy to live, and I had to learn English. Then, you know, my mind, when I read, when I do, is in four languages. But I don't say like something which is it's part of and it's part of my limit, and it's part of something we have to look with, and now with another eyes, because it's beauty, it's interesting.
And,
then I
think Patricia,
we are positive and negative.
Yeah.
We are positive and negative because in some way I have hope in some way, and this hope that has to move me, and I'm finding a kind of poetic in what you are doing, because I think men only, the human possibilities, that Morin was always saying, human possibility, capabilities only connected with the work. They are always so limitative. Obviously, we have always to hope that has the possibility to tell himself in some way, to have a poetical way of expressing. That is what I desire for my daughters, for any kind of new generation. Then that we have to fight for that. And then if you fight on your inside, then you cannot say that is positive or is negative. You are inside, then it's a bit more complex. That's what I want to say.
But you talked before about amphibious feet, no? The ability of it's not an adaptation, but it's the ability of live in different environment and environment that changes. Can you just explain a little bit more this thought? What do you mean for amphibious? What is your thinking there? You use this word and remain that stick to my mind.
Well, that was coming from one of my first conversations by the net, and just speaking about this book of Emanuele Cocha, that he was this word, I like it strongly. You know, sometimes there is a word that you know, that personal moment that give you a lot of energy for many things. As other words from him, which are like I like it a lot, that we are in somewhere arborean primates. I think that is. That give me open me a window. You know, how many we have to find simple ways. If like when you're doing a drawing or you know, reading is always so interesting. Is why we say you can read another time a book that you read years ago, and you always find, because it's their attitude is in this moment especially is so different. Then what I think is important that the amphibian side is always a very because it's very clear to. I like the metaphors that they come in my mind, and they come really the images come very strong, no? And then I see, you know, this animal that when becomes more or less adult, he moves from water, for example. There are many kinds of ways of being amphibian, but to air. This double layer, you know, that give you the possibilities of thinking. I think in this moment, I'm obliged, but from that situation, I'm gonna find my way to grow, or to grow things that they were a little bit so frozen in some way. Then, but I like, for example, there was another book for Timothy Morton, that Hyper Objects. That was a very interesting book. That was speaking about those hyperobs, that they are difficult for us. You know, as they are so immense dimension, like they can be the digital world. You can speak about big terms that they are involving other ones, which are more adapted to the human way of thinking, and then how to understand and understand how all those links are important. All this systemic point of view is very important to read things about that, because we learn how to understand the complexity, and for us it's hard.
And Patricia, you usually work on brick and mortar, no? Now, like hotels, restaurants, retail stores, objects. Yeah. Did anyone ask you instead to do something virtual in this moment?
I didn't understand what you were saying. Can you say?
Like most of the things that you have done are physical, no? Is a hotel, is a restaurant, is it an object?
A project.
How much? Like, is anyone, or are you thinking about doing something totally virtual in this moment? Virtual, meaning not physical.
I think the webinar I've done the other week with Hayward, for me, was one of those kind of new experiments that I was suffering for doing. I was not intended, but I thought was important to understand how.
Yeah, so for everyone that has not seen it, Patricia's done this really very interesting webinar for.
Don't be superlative, Echo. I
looked at. I thought it was very interesting. The advantage, obviously, from Instagram is that there is a lot of images, and it's very visual, so it makes it
I wanted
easier.
to do images. But
So,
you know, for example, something that was virtual and it's not exactly that. What I'm saying has to do with the concept of time. I think it's very interesting to think about how different is our perception of time. Then you don't say we have to go slower, or it's not about that. It's already the concept of time change it. Then that is even a bit more complex. And for example, I was speaking during this period, with Quique Sarasola, which is a man. I've been doing his office, working with him, doing a hotel here in Milano years ago. And now that is Salone del Mobile, will be the week of Salone del Mobile, will be part of my friends. They say, and I'm here in the hotel. Those are kind of natural and easy conversations. And he was saying from the beginning of the crisis, he was a man with I would not say that he was very quick, because that was not the way to explain his action. He was already on a path so clear that for him was very easy to understand that all his hotels all around the world, or the ones that were in cities where he could afford and could help, they could mutuate and be another thing, and for a temporal time, for a period. I like this idea of, and he did it. For example, the Giulia Hotel in Milano now is used by doctors and parametrics. I think this thing is important to understand. This idea of understanding that our cities, our houses, is not. I don't want to listen people just saying or explaining, because we need to do in our houses and we have to. I'm not so sure. What about what we have to do in our houses? Let us think a bit more. I am slow in that thinking, because what I think is how we want to use time and space in our houses. We have to learn a lot how to understand how we want to live the spaces in the sense of time, how we can adapt ourselves to that double layer. And that for me is more important. It's because for him was very easy immediately to propose, get inside a conversation long, and ask
Patricia,
all of us
let me explain to people that maybe are following us. So in the middle of Milan, there is a Hotel Giulia. It's a really nice
Hotel Giulia from roommate.
Exactly. And the owner proposed the hotel to be used by the doctors that in this moment are trying
but
to...
But it's not the first one. He did already for a long time,
yes,
at the beginning of... In Madrid, a few ones, he called him from New York and speak with him to explain how he was doing, to do it with the one and with others. And the way when he was explaining to me, and I was seeing him, to Kike, to speak with all his team and say to them that they could do it and get everybody involved, was very interesting, because he was on a real new path, and that thing is very, very interesting. Then I'm happy to be part of those conversations and to call other friends, as to other architects I know here, like Boyer, anyone, to call other people, to find a way to help. Then to link was, but I like this idea of temporality. Even in your home, I think we have to understand. Obviously, we are understanding that first thing if you are not alone, what about after this quarantine? What did you get from that relation with others?
So
how did you work on that?
So
how were your homeworks?
What are you taking out from the relationships at home?
Yes.
What is
how
yours?
did you work on that?
Yeah,
with your dog,
with your dog, with your kids, with your husband.
Yes, I said the dog because I think it's from the whole family was the only one making things extremely easy.
And Patricia,
I'm
going to ask you a question that it seems simple, but for me means a lot. You work a lot with color. For you, something about your work there's always a very strong presence of color. In this moment, the color. What is the role of color in a moment of uncertainty? Is it that you see or color or light, or what is there any role or not really? You know, we were talking about it in completely different contexts with bags. Now it's do people want to buy more conservative and you know, more reassuring color, or are they going to want something that is extroverted, super colorful? And it's not about, you know, a bag or not a bag. It's more the perception that you give of color and what it means for you and for your state of mind. So what is for you color, and how do you use it?
Well, in relation with what I think in the next future will be important, this element. I think the truth. I'm not especially interested on how to revalue that element in first line. I don't know. I think for me, color in any case has to do. If now I close my window, I am, everything is the same reality, but you perceive another thing. That, for example, Olaf would defend that one of the hundred or thousand of arguments he makes. I think the perception change continuously. Color has to do with the light, and light is obviously being inside spaces and with a springtime blossom around us or in our mind, like knowing that is blossom, and you see that speaking with, for example, with young people, or in my house, there was a conversation with I saw them. There was a day that they were using color as an energy. Other days not. I always remember an experiment that Marina, you make me think. Marina Abramovic was one time explaining to us. I was lucky to meet her with Patrizia Moroso years ago, and she was explaining us an experiment she did about color. And it was not only saying, but she was thinking about the deepness of color in relation with our perception, not only with light, but in the way perhaps you are asking to me.
I think color is very, very, people react to color in a very interesting way. But
she was dressing, her and her companion, one month a year in a color, different color. One all yellow. I remember her telling that story. We were having a dinner, and me, I was lost on that conversation. I don't know. I keep lost in that. And one month they were all green. The one they were in red was very dense and complicated. There was one they tried in white, and they were ethereal. Green was very easy to others because people had to see them all the month with those shirts and trousers in a color. Then she was intense as she is, but she was telling the experiment with a lot of love, and it was incredibly. And she was explaining about black and white as very neutral, obviously a state of mind, and even Lila, she liked it. I remember she said that. Perhaps it's in my mind and it's wrong, but I like it, the idea. That it can be, but I don't have in this moment answers for what I'm thinking to do so properly. What I think is, for example, in conversation with Casina, when we were saying was, I think in this moment to think about this state of mind, which is in the, as Bruce called it, the dormiveglia. I try to say in English is
the wake and the between the wake
being sleeping and awake, no? This is drowsiness. I don't know. I think it's a state of mind very interesting because anything you are a little bit dreaming is perhaps is more or less unconscious, but can be very conscious, and you mix it with your reality. And I think dreams always go in front of reality. Then in this time, one of the few things we have is to understand we are linked, and to try new ways or try to be humble in the way we can find something for those connections and to be creative on that. obviously to dream through the most simple things we have in front of us, then to communicate and to work on that. Then I that I think is still being the state of mind I have,
And
and it's
Patricia,
active, but it's
sorry, I wanted to again another point that we discussed, and I think is super interesting. We've been trying to create spaces. There were open spaces where everyone could connect. There was this the sharing economy. Now we were talking about this, and I actually, you pointed out, and I start thinking about it a lot. No? So I thought it was a big. A good thing that we were managing. So now instead we are all having to keep a distancing. And what, how do you see this thing about the sharing economy and spaces? Do you think there will be a sort of going back to create more barriers, or?
Yeah. We have in front of us a period complex, because it has to do with many problems which are going to be connected with that. I think only thinking we were using a lot of cars, sharing opportunities in Milano, and now in this period is going to be an argument that is not going to be, and it was a very good thing.
No, that's why it was very positive.
We want to change many things that we were doing already the wrong way in relation with sustainability, of transparency, of process, and in many of those things that is evidently something we were speaking, and we are speaking inside the companies, and I think after this period, I think the voice is going to be a bit stronger in that way. That in some way, even if we will have economical progress, but I'm going to think this voice is going to be very, very difficult to stop it in all the conversations, in any kind of meeting, relation, and because it's something that I can't imagine that is not. But in relation to share, that we were so proud about learning how to share things, or we Airbnb with the spaces. We're working with a company doing office spaces. We were doing a lot of more cooperative spaces where people could be together, and and now they were saying to me that they were doing to them big orders, immediate orders about boxes, like a bit. And
going back to the 90s,
well,
I remember
but
when I was in
it's part of,
with my little
utopia. Utopia lives with entropia, capito? With any kind of with everything goes together, but utopia is still being in our mind. We need to have the dreams on working with certain things. I was thinking, you remember Mononcle, the film at the beginning, that's the idea of international style, all this space done with all this monotone and repeat. In some way, that is part of the image they are saying to us to keep distance and everything. We don't have real humanized, interesting, humble, gentle new solutions for that. We are ongoing, and we will have to do it, because if not, it's going to be very hard. Then some things were already wrong, and the one that we were thinking, part of them, we got them already. They became even complicated. Then
back to the study book. We have to start studying again, finding a next solution.
Yes, then a lot of homeworks, much more. But I think that keeps. I think I've been thinking these days. In this period, I come back to think how it's important to redefine my identity. Every day is something. Even with my daughters in home, because I was so. It was so pure, the relation, because it was a discussion, was clear, and you couldn't escape. You were there. And perhaps anything you were doing wrong or you were thinking, it was even more intense. Then I think we have to redefine our identity strongly now. It's a period of metamorphosis. Very important, and when we have to work on that. Not only work on the problems, or only seeing the problems we have that already they are there.
And Patricia, now the first thing you're going to do when you can go out, what would be? What is something that instead, the fact of being at home, even if there is something that you're really missing?
So walking, I miss me walking. I see people saying walking in the. I don't put me in the sea and sea. Obviously, something which is connected out of the city because I feel a little bit frozen here. But I think walking is one side. Another side is having that physical contact with, but we cannot have. Then we have to. No, so I'm not. You know what I think is in this moment we. It's not so much important that I think is important to understand how much we can. It's obvious that perhaps if you work among someone who loves to work, then you want to do that. The other one, but it's not so much about the aperitivo. Part of my the guys in the studio, they say to go all together to have aperitivo. It's obviously at the end, perhaps the thing we are going to enjoy is going to be even much simpler than that. The thing is that we to not get inside a new world and to lose the energy to go on changing or trying to change things. That is what I think that's the only important thing. The way they are.
And we both were traveling a lot. This is something that it's going to be not as much. I don't know when we will be getting a new plane, but traveling is so much part of your life. Is that something that bothers you or not really? You're fine.
Well, me, who knows me well, they know that I was open to all the complexity of my work, but that was for me good and bad. Obviously, I had the incredible opportunity to put inside my mind a lot of circumstances, people, connections, other identities, and it's been incredibly lucky, my situation in this way the last years. But the density of all those things, if it's changing, and we are giving to, not only speaking about me, speaking about all of us.
But it's an example to talk about everyone.
See, but we give to all of us. If I have to travel to Japan, that is a place I especially like, but I lose all that time. Then the meeting is not so big, and then doesn't need so many hours. Perhaps we can avoid, and then me and them, we can have all that time to dedicate to other parts of our life, which are so important. But if we get that time, another time again, we have to use it in the right way, then not creating other densities. But we are in a kind of society which is, so there is, when I think about Franco Bifo Berardi, he has a book which is not phenomenology, I think, of the end, which is very interesting. Then speaking about all these things, it's a book that has been done obviously before this moment, but there are a lot of sometimes it's complex in this kind of conversation to make to really I hope people understand the sincerity of trying to be speaking us together, but because really in this moment we don't have strong solutions in color in anything. You were saying to me you remember in Christmas time we wanted to do a little bag for your company. We never worked together. We tried to do a showroom together. Then was not. We are just friends, And we say perhaps we do a mask. I was saying calma, We have to create connection in this moment. To even criticize ourselves, even in the way we do it, but to find new links, and that is.
I think the idea of also these conversations is not of a journalist. I'm not a journalist, but it's true that by talking with other people, you share ideas, you think, you get your brain start working, and while we are living this situation, I think it's important that we start thinking about what we have learned from the past, what we are doing today, and the future. No, and for us, for our kids, I think, as you said, that we need to be able to go on and to learn and and we have
not to
made a
give.
lot of mistakes. Earth Day tells us.
But
No?
you know what for me, if I think in a personal way, you are in some way saying how complex will be this long period we have in front of us, how we can work through, how can we be person inside those crises and those crossed crises we are going to have. But the problem is not, when I was thinking, it's not me, it's young people and all the adolescents and all the students and all the young professionals that they said, but for them is the whole future is in front of them. Then we have to be in some way not too much I try in home to find a way very easy, natural, to make them understand that I have a process inside of me which is an evolutive process. We're trying to be. Then it's more important that to say to them opinions about all my fear and all the things that obviously they are in our
minds.
then
But
I hope we communicate more that than others. No? These days we should be comunque crossing over in Salone del Mobile here in Milano. We will be giving kisses to all in between us. We will be comunque touching things and having.
But are you missing in Salone or you're not missing it?
Obviously we miss Salone because it's a situation that I think is in our sector very important. Then, but perhaps in the moment we miss it, and if you miss someone or miss something strongly, try to do the best you can for when you meet another time to do it better. Then perhaps we have to think what were the limits of that. We can perhaps having a bit more time way to work in the limits. And then could be interesting. About hospitality, about many arguments which are related to it. You know, this. We have more time. Speaking with the companies, we spoke a lot that we have to reverse that concept of time. That and that could help us to get to approach the situation we are living, and we are gonna live in a better way. I still think in that.
So do you think we will come out being a little bit more careful? Not running so much, not throwing away so much, or once this is over, we are back at square one at our normal life. Let's hope not.
I don't have to.
You know, yesterday I spoke with someone that told me in September everything is going to be back again, and I felt a real pain in my chest.
Yes, in September,
and I thought what a missed opportunity.
In the moment you don't know if it's September or October. Perhaps this indefinite idea can help you to have more hope. You know, that's always you have to insert the space of kind of hope or poetic. If to find that little space to go with your roots, you need to understand that in this moment things were very clear. We're running in a way, nowhere of changing things. That the situation changes many things. Then possibly, I think many problems will come, but things have been shaken, and that always gives a possibility.
Okay, Patricia, we had a lot. Allora, I have to say that during the live stream, I never seen so many love towards you. I read some of compliments. People are saying, "Can you hire me to take you the coffee every day?" I think they're never going to write something about.
But your coffee, we don't want coffee. We want the matcha. Capito?
No, it's sweet.
Matcha.
People are saying that you are excellent, amazing. They love you. I think this is important. You have been sharing a lot also of your thoughts. I think is exactly what I was hoping. And, you know, for me, I love what Rodolfo Dordoni said yesterday. I don't like things, I like people. And I'm going to use this word because I met you in New York at a dinner. And
Yes. And
we
it
were...
was very, I have that moment very clear in my mind.
Me too, and there was a very, very immediate connection, and since then we've managed to...
You were open to learn, and I like a lot of people which are, they know, I think in this moment, you know, we have to improve our healthcare, but we have to improve the way we learn in each, I don't say only for young generations, for all of us, in any moment of our life. And I love when I feel that in person in front of me. They are interested in others, but they're interested in learning, not only just curiosity, you know.
No, so
Curiosity, as Castiglioni was saying,
so
it's okay, but it's
exactly.
not the whole program. Curiosity, but to think and to come out with some...
Yeah, so we have now 2 minutes. So after we will close because of the la diretta. So I still hope that we are going to do something together. Not for the object, but for the person. No, I said with my heart. I also believe this. I think it's about people and it's about the process more than the final object. And obviously the object after is what remains, but it's everything that goes in that object. And also
I wanted just to say you something. Sepulveda was a book. When they were speaking about a book, I put it in my Instagram because of a reason. I think his very simple and delicate books, very easy to arrive to many people. They are so plenty of right thoughts for the moment we are living.
You are absolutely true. And it's so sad.
Was the first... And it's important to, not one book of Sepulveda, the one they get. They are all okay. They are all interesting.
Patricia, I love you lots, and thank you again for coming with me and having this chat. And yeah, I'm really, really happy that I managed to meet you because it's something that means a lot to me, more than this chat, everything that there is. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Ciao, 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 ciao. So I'm bye, and on Friday we're going to have ciao Patricia, ciao.
I go away.
No, yeah. I was just going to say that on Friday we're going to have Linton and Rosanna from Neri and You, so from China. It will be interesting to know also their perspective. And they went to get their kids in America and take them back to China to be all together. I think in this moment, family is really 100% important, and being together is really lucky. So thank you again. Ciao Patricia, ciao, ciao, ciao. Ciao a tutti, thank you.